Hello everyone, and welcome to this deep dive into one of the most widespread human behaviours, procrastination. Whether you're putting off a major work project, leaving your laundry untouched, or repeatedly telling yourself, "I'll start tomorrow," procrastination is a universal challenge. Yet it's often misunderstood as mere laziness. In truth, the act of delaying tasks is deeply rooted in fear, avoidance, and self-sabotage. Patterns that can feel so normal that we barely notice them until critical deadlines loom. In this video, we'll uncover the psychological roots that drive us to sidestep our most important goals. We'll examine how our biology, environment, and personal mindsets all conspire to make procrastination a compelling default. We'll also explore practical techniques, like the 5-second rule and the Pomodoro technique, that can give you an edge in this daily battle for productivity and self-improvement. By the end, I hope you'll have fresh insight into why procrastination happens and how you can break free from its grip to regain control of your time and your life. Procrastination may be common, but it doesn't have to define your story. When many of us think of procrastination, we imagine simply putting off tasks until the last minute. But there's far more to it than laziness. Procrastination can mask an array of deeper issues, including a fear of failure, fear of success, and anxieties about not meeting expectations. These fears can be so overwhelming that the brain chooses short-term comfort, like scrolling social media or watching Netflix, over facing potential discomfort or disappointment. In some cases, the person procrastinating is anything but lazy. They might be diligently working on other tasks, chores, or even pursuing hobbies, all while dodging the one job that truly needs their focus. This is often called productive procrastination, where you stay busy to avoid the emotionally challenging work that truly matters. Because of this, labeling procrastinators as lazy oversimplifies the emotional battles they may be fighting beneath the surface. They may be constantly wrestling with self-doubt, perfectionism, or the pressure to perform at an impossibly high standard. By recognizing that procrastination is an emotional coping mechanism, you begin to see that it's not a character flaw. The real question becomes, what are you trying to protect yourself from by delaying? Are you worried about the outcome not living up to your ideals? Or are you uncertain about whether you can handle success if it does come your way? Pausing to reflect on these fears can help you unearth the hidden drivers behind your procrastination and tackle them directly, rather than living in a cycle of guilt and avoidance. Why do so many of us choose temporary relief over long-term rewards? One significant factor is fear. Fear of failure leads us to think, if I don't complete this task, I can't fail it. Fear of success, though less obvious, can be equally paralyzing. Accomplishing a goal might lead to new responsibilities, scrutiny, or higher expectations. And when uncertainty looms, the mind often defaults to the familiar, postponing whatever feels risky or intimidating. This form of avoidance frequently morphs into self-sabotage. You might genuinely want that promotion, or to finish a creative project, yet deep-rooted insecurities whisper that you're not capable or that you won't measure up. Procrastination then becomes a way to avoid ever having to test those insecurities. While it offers immediate emotional relief, "I'll just do it tomorrow, I'm too tired right now," it also traps you in a cycle of inaction and regret. Over time, these delayed projects and unfulfilled ambitions accumulate, fueling feelings of stagnation and self-doubt. Facing these fears head-on can feel daunting, but it's often the only real way to break free. This might mean journaling about the worst-case scenario, what truly happens if you fail, and then realizing you have the resilience to bounce back. Or you might list the pros and cons of achieving a certain goal, acknowledging both the excitement and the new responsibilities it would bring. By bringing these fears into the light, you rob them of the power they hold when unexamined, and once fear is named and understood, you can begin to replace avoidance with a proactive game plan, creating forward momentum in areas of your life where you've long been stalled. A deeper look into our neurobiology shows that procrastination isn't just about mindset. It involves a tug of war in our brains. The limbic system, which governs our emotions and impulses, frequently overrules the prefrontal cortex, responsible for long-term planning and impulse control. When faced with a difficult or time-consuming task, the limbic system clamours for immediate relief, like social media, tasty snacks, or chatting with a friend, while the prefrontal cortex logically reminds you of your future goals. Because the limbic system is evolutionarily older, it's wired for survival and immediate gratification. The prefrontal cortex, though crucial for complex tasks like setting priorities and managing impulses, requires more mental energy. If you're fatigued, stressed, or overwhelmed, the limbic system often takes center stage, guiding you to activities that soothe short-term discomfort. This neurological dynamic partly explains why you might fall into a cycle of mindless scrolling or TV binges when you're actually trying to muster focus for a looming deadline. Understanding this biochemical tug-of-war empowers you to work with your brain rather than against it. You can schedule difficult tasks during your peak energy hours, use rituals to signal focus time, or remove temptations from your immediate environment. Simple acts like silencing unnecessary notifications or clearing your workspace can significantly reduce the mental load on your prefrontal cortex, giving it a fighting chance to guide you toward what truly matters. In previous eras, procrastinating might have meant doodling or chatting with coworkers at the water cooler. Today, countless digital platforms are engineered to seize and retain our attention. Social media sites, streaming services, and mobile games are meticulously designed to trigger dopamine hits, brief surges of pleasure that keep you scrolling, tapping, and watching. The ease of accessing these platforms with a few taps on your phone turns them into powerful magnets for anyone wrestling with a difficult or tedious task. Beyond just time drains, these platforms can stoke comparison anxiety. You scroll through curated highlight reels of others' achievements, outings, and successes. Suddenly, your own progress might seem meagre, and the fear of not measuring up intensifies. Rather than producing something imperfect, you might choose to delay action altogether, telling yourself you'll begin once you feel more inspired. Though digital distractions are formidable, they aren't unbeatable. Mindful tech usage can turn devices from enemies into tools. Setting app limits, creating tech-free blocks of time, or even removing certain apps from your phone can help break the reflex to procrastinate. By consciously designing how you interact with technology, you reclaim mental space for the tasks that align with your deeper goals. One of the simplest yet most effective methods to combat procrastination is the 5-second rule, popularized by Mel Robbins. The premise is straightforward. Whenever you feel the urge to act on a goal, like writing a paragraph or starting your workout, you count backward from 5. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then move before your mind can invent excuses. This swift pivot from thought to action short-circuits the limbic system's natural tendency to deliberate and sway you toward procrastination. Why does it work? The 5-second countdown is like a mental jolt that interrupts habitual hesitation. If you grant yourself even a few extra seconds, you'll likely start rationalizing inaction. I'll do it later. I'm too tired right now, or maybe I should check emails first. By counting down and launching into motion, you shift control to the prefrontal cortex. This technique won't magically end every procrastination habit, but it makes a compelling difference in those critical split seconds when you decide whether to work or to wander. With repeated practice, you'll notice a shift in self-perception. Instead of viewing yourself as someone who endlessly hesitates, you start to see yourself as someone who takes immediate action. This boosts confidence and momentum, which in turn lowers the barrier for tackling even bigger tasks down the line. Another popular tool in the anti-procrastination arsenal is the Pomodoro technique. Here's how it works. You set a timer for 25 minutes of focused work, followed by a short 5-minute break. After 4 such cycles, or Pomodoros, you take a longer break of around 15 to 20 minutes. These structured intervals help break tasks into digestible segments, making it easier to start and maintain focus. Why is this approach so effective? For one, tackling a task for just 25 minutes feels far less daunting than committing to several hours at once. Knowing a break is coming soon can also reduce your urge to seek quick distractions like browsing social media. Psychologically, each completed Pomodoro becomes a small win, reinforcing a sense of progress. This steady drip of accomplishment can be especially useful for tasks that feel overwhelming at the outset, such as lengthy research projects or major creative undertakings. You can adjust the intervals to suit your attention span. Some people find 45-minute work sessions optimal, while others prefer just 15. The point is to create a clear boundary between work time and rest time. This not only keeps you refreshed, but also teaches your brain to respect designated focus periods. Paired with the 5-second rule, the Pomodoro technique forms a potent 1-2 punch against procrastination. You begin each focus block decisively, and you sustain it in a framework that respects your mental stamina. While productivity tools are invaluable, long-lasting change often demands heightened self-awareness. Ask yourself, when do I procrastinate most intensely, and why? Is it after receiving criticism, when I feel insecure? Is it late at night, when I'm drained and the limbic system easily overrides my better judgment? Or perhaps it's whenever a task is too open-ended, leaving me unsure how to start. Keeping a simple journal can illuminate patterns in your procrastination habits, allowing you to devise targeted solutions. You might note that you procrastinate when tasks lack a clear structure, or when you feel pressured by external expectations. Recognizing these triggers paves the way for preventative strategies. Maybe you can break large tasks into smaller milestones, or seek feedback early to calm your anxieties about being off track. Such introspection fosters self-compassion. By seeing procrastination as an emotional response, you circumvent harsh self-criticism and move into problem-solving mode. It's far more constructive to think, I tend to delay tasks when I'm overwhelmed. Maybe I need to simplify my approach, than I'm lazy. This shift in dialogue can greatly reduce the guilt spiral that perpetuates procrastination. A significant reason many of us procrastinate is perfectionism. The logic goes, if I can't do it perfectly, I might as well not do it at all. This mindset can be destructive because it sets an impossibly high bar for every endeavour. Rather than risk falling short, you delay, hoping for a future moment when you'll magically possess the ideal energy, inspiration, or skill level. To break this cycle, it helps to adopt a growth-oriented mindset. Instead of viewing each task as a final measure of your competence, see it as part of a larger journey of learning and improvement. Mistakes become valuable data points rather than condemnations of your worth. For example, if you're working on a creative project, focus on generating a rough draft first, letting go of the need for instant brilliance. You can refine later, but you can't edit a blank page. This approach, which psychologists often link to Carol Dweck's concept of a growth mindset, reframes how you interpret setbacks. Rather than reinforcing a self-sabotaging narrative, I'm not cut out for this, you treat each stumbling block as an opportunity for growth. By embracing imperfection early in the process, you reduce the anxiety that triggers procrastination, opening the door for steady progress and actual mastery over time. Your surroundings have an enormous impact on whether you'll take action or drift into delay. If your phone constantly buzzes with notifications or you have an array of open browser tabs, you're inviting the limbic system to derail your focus. Setting up boundaries is essential. This might mean installing website blockers during work hours, putting your phone in another room, or using time management apps that limit your access to social media. Physical space also matters. If possible, designate a specific area for work or study. This spatial cue can help your brain associate that location with productivity. Even small details, like having a tidy desk or comfortable chair, can make the environment feel more inviting for focused work. When your workspace is clutter-free and streamlined, your mind can more easily settle into a state of concentration. Additionally, consider the energy you bring to the environment. Establish mini rituals, maybe light a candle, sip a favourite tea, or do a quick stretch before starting. These rituals signal to your brain that focus time is beginning, much like an athlete's warm-up routine. When both your physical space and your mindset are aligned, you create conditions that make procrastination less tempting. Enlisting external support can be a game changer in overcoming procrastination. This could be a friend, colleague, or family member who agrees to check in on your progress. When someone else expects updates, you're less likely to delay indefinitely, knowing you'll have to report back on your outcomes. This accountability can be a powerful motivator, especially if procrastination has become your default habit over years or even decades. Online communities or mastermind groups serve similar function. You share your goals, celebrate milestones, and offer mutual encouragement when setbacks arise. There's a psychological boost that comes from knowing you're not alone in struggling against inaction. Others are waging the same battles, and seeing them push forward can inspire you to do the same. However, Pick your accountability partners wisely. Surround yourself with people who genuinely want to progress, rather than forming a group where everyone passively commiserates without taking real steps toward improvement. Despite your best intentions, you will sometimes relapse into old patterns. You may slip into binge-watching YouTube, endlessly scrolling social media, or tidying the house instead of tackling the project that really matters. The key is how you respond to these lapses. If you beat yourself up, you fuel negative emotions that can trigger deeper procrastination, creating a vicious cycle. Instead, practice self-compassion and curiosity. Ask, what happened? Was I tired, stressed, or trying to avoid a tricky part of the task? By treating the setback as a temporary misstep rather than a moral failing, you stay in a problem-solving mindset. Maybe you realize that you need a more detailed plan for your project or earlier deadlines to prevent last-minute panic. Each relapse becomes data that informs your next steps rather than a source of shame. Over time, these small course corrections keep you moving forward. You also build resilience, learning that a single failure doesn't define you or doom your ambitions. It's just part of the winding path toward meaningful goals. So, you now understand that procrastination often springs from fear, and you have a suite of tools, like the 5-second rule, the Pomodoro technique, and careful boundary setting, to counter it. The final and most important piece is to act. Knowledge alone doesn't magically erase procrastination. In fact, too much reflection can become a sophisticated form of delaying. Challenge yourself. Identify a task you've been postponing. Use the 5-second rule to start it immediately. This initial push might be as simple as opening a blank document, organizing your workspace, or scheduling a phone call you've been dreading. Once you make that first move, you harness momentum, which can carry you through the next stage of the task. It also solidifies a new identity. You're someone who chooses action over inertia. This emphasis on immediate action is crucial because delay begets delay. Every moment you hesitate opens a window for your limbic system to propose an easier, more pleasant activity. By seizing control right away, counting down and diving in, you strengthen your prefrontal cortex capacity to steer the ship. Over time, taking the initiative becomes your default setting rather than the exception. Procrastination isn't a simple matter of laziness or lack of discipline. It's a complex, fear-driven behavior deeply ingrained in our biology and fueled by modern distractions. Overcoming it requires self-awareness, practical tools, and a mindset shift, from avoiding discomfort to embracing consistent action. Whether it's the jolt of the 5-second rule or the structured bursts of the Pomodoro technique, you have multiple pathways to interrupt the cycle of delay. Accountability and self-compassion also play pivotal roles, ensuring you stay on track even when setbacks occur. Each time you confront a daunting task head-on, you prove to yourself that discomfort doesn't have to be a deal-breaker. Over time, you'll strengthen your resilience, refine your goals, and discover that the tasks you once avoided can become gateways to personal growth.